Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Young, you were the acting general counsel for DoD, so you've been personally reviewing the decisions that have gone on in the last 9 months. My questions first are on the cartel strikes. On September 4th, a letter was sent to Congress from the president. I'm guessing you had a hand in helping to write that we are now in non-international armed conflict, and the department is authorized against designated terrorist organizations. How many new terrorist organizations are we currently in armed conflict with, and could you name them?
Senator, it may be more appropriate for me to discuss that with you in a closed session.
We couldn't get it in a closed session when we met with the General Counsel, the man who's now confirmed as a General Counsel. And I would offer, as you mentioned before, I mean, I was a CIA officer and helped with targeting. I have no problem going after these cartels. I have no problem designating terrorist organizations in general, but we've never had an instance where there's a secret list of what I understand to be dozens of now terrorist organizations that the American public and certainly the oversight committees don't get to know. So I would just offer overseeing a secret list of terrorist organizations is concerning in this context, but much more concerning when we look at what's going on inside our country. The same time that that letter was being sent to this Congress, the president put out a new domestic terrorism executive order and asked the Department of Justice to designate a list of terrorist organizations who do things like have anti-Christian values, contradict traditional views of a family. Can you tell me what organizations have been designated as domestic terrorist organizations?
Senator, I'm
besides Antifa, which was
I am not aware of any designations under that. The Department of War, to my knowledge, has not been involved in that that I'm aware of.
If there was the list of domestic terrorist organizations that were settled upon, would that authorize the Department of Defense to take military action inside the United States? Not
to my knowledge, Senator.
The decision to send troops into our cities has been deeply controversial. We had the National Guard, and the president turned down, I think, twice or 3 times by a federal judge just this past weekend and setting National Guard troops from one state into another state. There is yet another leaked signal conversation from Secretary Hegseth about him considering sending in the 82nd Airborne. That's an active duty military unit, one of our most elite units. Is there any city in America that's currently in active insurrection against the government of the United States?
Senator, the president in his determinations and the presidential memorandums that were issued to the Secretary of War has made determinations under 10 U.S.C. 12406.
Right, but are they under, just the word insurrection is important, and you know why. If we declare in the 1807 Insurrection Act that there is a community, a city, whatever, that's in active insurrection, it allows the Department of Defense, and the Army included, to now perform law enforcement functions, arrest, detention, raids inside the United States, like the very thing that our country was founded upon in rejection of when the British were doing those things to us. So right now, by your legal determination, is any city in America in active insurrection? Yes or no?
Senator, the president has not declared that any insurrection is.
Would you support, the president in the last administration asked then Secretary Esper to send in the 82nd Airborne, the same unit, into Washington, D.C., to try and quell peaceful protests here in the city. And he said, if necessary, can't you just, quote, shoot at their legs? Do you support the 82nd Airborne active duty military troops being sent into American cities today?
Senator, it's my understanding the Department of Justice has looked at this issue going back to the 1970s when the Pentagon was under duress, as well as Washington, D.C., and it was the opinion then that the president would have the authority to use federal troops to protect federal functions and property in a manner
federal property we get. I'm not disputing that. Would you approve, as a lawyer for the Army, would you approve the 82nd Airborne, an Army unit, shooting at the legs of unarmed protesters, or would you push back against the commander-in-chief against that order?
Senator, I would say that the current rules for the use of force that U.S. NORTHCOM allows for service members
I mean,
to
you
use
said you were
force-
going to speak truth to power. You literally just answered Senator Kelly and said you would speak truth to power. If the President of the United States asks you to, quote, shoot at the legs of unarmed protesters, yes or no, would you speak truth to power and say something in pushback to the President?
I would certainly make sure that the President's directives would comply with the Constitution and law.
Okay. I yield back.